Hi, ladies and gentlemen, today I will explain the relationship between violent games and violent behavior. So nowadays we know that the rate of violent actions in guys have increased, and we know or suspect that the main reason is because violent video games. But it begs the question, which comes first? Can aggressive and violent behavior be attributed to violence in video games, or do those who play already have violent tendencies which draw them to violent games? It's a type of chicken or the egg. One of the primary concerns with violence in video games is that gaming is not passive. In order to play and win, the player has to be the aggressor. Rather than watching violence as he might do on television, he's committing the violent acts. Most researchers acknowledge that this kind of active participation affects a person's thought patterns, at least in short term. Another factor that concerns both researchers and parents is that violence in video games is often rewarded rather than punished. In army and sniper games, players level up based in part how many people they kill. If played frequently enough, games like this can skew a young person's perceptions of violence and its consequences. In 2002, researchers Anderson and Bashman developed the General Aggression Model, the GAM, often considered one of the greatest contributions to the study of violence and video games. The GAM helps explain the complex relationship between violent video games and aggressive gamers. The GAM takes some of the heat off video games by acknowledging that a gamer's personality plays into how he's affected by violence. Anderson and Bashman refers to three internal facets: thought, feelings, and behavior. Some people's responses are naturally more hostile, making them predisposed to respond more aggressively to violent video games. Short-term effects were easily identified in the GAM, most prominent being that violent video games change the way gamers interpret and respond to their aggressive acts. Even those who aren't predisposed to aggression respond with increased hostility after playing a violent video game. The game becomes what's called a situational variable, which changes the perception of and reaction to aggressive behavior. Long-term effects of violent video games are still uncertain and fiercely debated. No long-term studies have been conducted to date, so there are only hypotheses. Anderson and Bashman theorized that excessive exposure to violent video games causes the formation of aggressive beliefs and attitudes. Thought long-term effects haven't been clinically documented. One need only look at the way video games violence that progressively increased over the past 2 decades to get a sense of potential long-term effects. Parents would be wise to monitor the amount of time their kids spend gaming and watch closely for any negative effects. Thank you.